Sierra Hayes had exactly 3 rules for her evening jogs through the Pacific Northwest forest: stay on marked trails, finish before sunset, and absolutely don't think about work. She was violating rule number 2 when she heard the first growl. It wasn't a dog. Dogs didn't sound like rolling thunder mixed with rage. Dogs didn't make the ground vibrate with the sheer depth of their snarls. Sierra froze on the trail, her accountant brain immediately calculating probabilities. Bear? Mountain lion? Some kind of escaped zoo animal? Then she saw them. Massive wolves. No, they were too big to be wolves, too coordinated, too human in their movements, crashed through the forest around her. Gray and black and brown fur, muscles rippling under pelts, eyes that glowed with intelligence no animal should possess. "Oh God," Sierra whispered, pressing herself against a tree as 2 of the creatures circled what looked like a battlefield. "This isn't happening. This is a stress hallucination. I've been working too many hours and my brain is." One of the wolves, the largest one, with fur so black it seemed to absorb light, turned its massive head toward her. Golden eyes locked onto hers, and Sierra felt something crack in her chest. Like recognition. Like coming home to a place she'd never been. The black wolf's lips pulled back, revealing fangs the size of her fingers. It took a step toward her. "Nice, doggy?" Sierra tried, her voice shaking. "Good, giant impossible wolf that definitely isn't real?" Then all hell broke loose. Smaller wolves, rogues, some part of her mind whispered, attacked from the shadows. The black wolf spun to defend, and in the chaos, Sierra saw a woman standing at the edge of the clearing. Beautiful, blonde, wearing designer clothes that somehow didn't have a single leaf on them despite being in the middle of the forest. The woman's eyes met Sierra's, and there was something calculating in that gaze. Something that made Sierra's instincts scream danger. The black wolf fought with devastating efficiency, ripping through rogues with primal ferocity. But in the chaos, it got turned around. Disoriented. And when pack law demanded the alpha mark his chosen mate during victory in battle, when instinct overrode thought and the wolf lunged forward to claim, it bit Sierra instead of the blonde woman. The pain was instant and excruciating. Fangs pierced the junction of Sierra's neck and shoulder, and she screamed as something that felt like liquid fire poured into her bloodstream. The wolf's jaw clamped down for 3 seconds, an eternity, before releasing her. Sierra collapsed, her vision going white with pain. Through the agony, she heard the wolf's sound of absolute horror. Heard it shift, bones cracking, fur receding, into a man. "No," a deep male voice said, raw with shock. "No, no, no. What have I done?" Strong hands gripped Sierra's shoulders. She forced her eyes open and saw the most devastatingly handsome man she'd ever encountered. Dark hair, sharp features, those same golden eyes from the wolf, now filled with panic. "You bit me," Sierra gasped. "You actually bit me. I'm going to die of some weird wolf rabies, Anne." "You're not going to die of rabies," the man said, but his voice was tight with fear. "You're going to die of a broken mate bond if I don't complete the mark. But you're human. This shouldn't be possible. Humans can't be marked. They can't." "Dante." The blonde woman appeared, and her voice was sharp with something that might have been triumph masked as concern. "What did you do?" "That's not me. That's some random human." "I know what she is, Vanessa," Dante snapped. His hands were still on Sierra, and she could feel them trembling. "The wolf, my wolf took over. The battle, the instinct to mark, I lost control and marked the wrong woman." "Then unmark her," Vanessa said coldly. "I can't. A mark bond can't be broken once initiated. She'll die within hours if I don't complete it, and even if I do complete it, she might die anyway because humans aren't meant to carry the mate mark." Dante looked down at Sierra, and she saw genuine anguish in his eyes. "I've killed her. I've marked a human, broken pack law, and killed an innocent woman all because I lost control for 5 seconds. Sierra's vision was starting to blur. The fire in her veins was spreading, and every heartbeat felt like her body was tearing itself apart from the inside. What's happening to me?" she managed to ask. "The mate bond is trying to form, but your human body is fighting it." Dante's jaw clenched. "I have to take you to pack territory. Have to try to complete the bond properly, with ritual and intention instead of chaos. It's your only chance." Pack territory? Bond? I don't understand any of Sierra's words cut off as another wave of pain crashed through her. No time for explanations. Dante scooped her up with inhuman ease. "Marcus. Clear the field. We're returning to the compound immediately. And someone get Elena, tell her I need every ritual text on mate bonds we have. Now. You're taking her to our home?" Vanessa's voice was ice. "Dante, the pack will never accept. The pack will accept what I command them to accept." Dante's alpha power rolled out in a wave that made even Sierra's human senses shiver. "I made this mistake. I'll fix it. Even if it costs me everything." Through her pain-hazed vision, Sierra saw Vanessa's expression twist into something ugly before smoothing back to concern. "Of course, Alpha. Whatever you command." Sierra wanted to protest, wanted to demand he take her to a hospital like a normal person encountering a medical emergency, but her body was shutting down. The last thing she remembered before unconsciousness claimed her was Dante's arms around her, his voice rough with guilt as he whispered, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I killed you." But Sierra didn't die. She woke up 12 hours later in a bedroom that looked like it belonged in a luxury mountain lodge, exposed beams, massive fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows showing endless forest. Her neck throbbed, but the fire in her veins had dimmed to a manageable burn. "You're awake." Dante stood from a chair by the window, looking like he hadn't slept at all. Dark circles under his eyes, tension in every line of his body. "How do you feel?" "Like I got mauled by a giant wolf and then kidnapped by said wolf who turned into a man," Sierra said, sitting up carefully. "So, you know. Tuesday." Despite everything, Dante's lips twitched. "You're making jokes." "That's either a very good sign or evidence of shock." "Definitely shock." Sierra touched her neck, feeling the bandaged wound. "What happened? And please don't tell me I hallucinated the whole thing." "You didn't hallucinate." Dante moved closer, and Sierra noticed he stopped exactly 6 feet away. Like he was forcing himself to maintain distance. "Werewolves are real. I'm the alpha of the Blackwood pack, the largest pack in the Pacific Northwest. And during a battle with rogues last night, my wolf marked you as my mate instead of my intended mate." Sierra processed this for a moment. "So you're telling me werewolves exist, you're their leader, and you accidentally married me in wolf?" "The mate bond is more permanent than human marriage, but essentially yes." Dante's expression was grim. "And humans can't survive the mate bond. Your body should have rejected the mark completely, killed you within hours. But somehow, you're alive. You're still human, I can tell by your scent, but you're alive with my mark on your neck. That shouldn't be possible." "Maybe I'm tougher than I look," Sierra offered. "Maybe." Dante studied her with those unsettling golden eyes. "Or maybe there's something about you that's not as human as either of us think. Elena, our pack historian, wants to examine you. Run some tests. Try to understand why you survived. And if you can't figure it out, then we complete the bond fully, make you my true mate, and hope that somehow your human body adapts." Dante's voice went rough. "Or the bond kills you slowly over weeks instead of hours. Either way, I've destroyed your life. You'll never be able to leave pack territory, the bond won't allow separation. You'll be tied to me until one of us dies." Sierra should have been terrified. Should have been screaming or demanding lawyers or trying to escape. Instead, she felt oddly calm. Like some part of her had been waiting for this moment her entire life. "Okay," she said simply. Dante blinked. Okay. That's your response to being told you're magically bonded to a werewolf alpha and can never leave? I mean, it's not ideal. I have a job, an apartment, a life in Seattle. Sierra touched the mark again, feeling warmth pulse under her fingers. But I'm also apparently living in a world where werewolves exist and magic is real, so my normal metric for dealing with problems seems inadequate. Plus, you said I'll die if I leave, right? Eventually, yes. The bond demands proximity, especially in the early stages. Then I guess I'm staying. At least until we figure out how to undo this. It can't be undone, Dante said quietly. Mate bonds are forever. I've chained you to me for the rest of your life, however long that is, because I lost control for 5 seconds during a battle. Sierra met his eyes and saw the guilt eating him alive. Saw a man who'd built his entire identity on control and discipline now facing the consequences of one moment of chaos. Hey, she said softly. I'm not dead yet. So maybe save the tragic self-flagellation for after we know if this is actually going to kill me? You're taking this remarkably well for someone who learned supernatural creatures exist less than a day ago. Yeah, well. I've always been good at adapting. Sierra swung her legs off the bed, testing her strength. Everything felt different. Sharper. Like her senses had been turned up several notches. So what happens now? Do I meet the pack? Undergo some kind of werewolf orientation? The pack knows about the mistake. They're not pleased. Dante's expression darkened. Marking a human breaks tradition. Vanessa was supposed to be my mate, it was arranged, political, meant to strengthen alliances. Marking you instead has created significant problems. Sorry for the inconvenience of not dying fast enough, Sierra said dryly. That's not what Dante stopped, running a hand through his hair in frustration. You're going to face hostility from pack members who see you as a mistake. Vanessa's already spreading rumors that you deliberately interfered with the marking ceremony. It's going to be difficult. I've worked in corporate accounting for 6 years. I'm pretty sure I can handle some hostile werewolves. Sierra stood, surprised by how steady she felt. Besides, if I'm stuck here anyway, I might as well make the best of it. Dante stared at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. You're either the most adaptable human I've ever met, or you're in deep denial about the severity of this situation. Can't it be both? Sierra smiled, and saw Dante's expression soften slightly. Look, I get it. You made a mistake. I'm the wrong woman in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I'm also still alive, which means there's a chance this works out. So let's focus on that instead of the doom and gloom, okay? For the first time since she'd woken up, Dante looked at her with something other than guilt. There was curiosity there now, and maybe the tiniest hint of hope. Okay, he agreed. Let's start with Elena's examination. If we're lucky, she'll have answers. But as Sierra followed Dante out of the bedroom and into the massive pack compound, she didn't notice the way her reflection looked different in the hallway mirrors. Didn't see the faint glow in her eyes that came and went too quickly to catch. Didn't realize that the mark on her neck was already healing faster than any human wound should. Because Sierra Hayes thought she was human. And that was the biggest mistake anyone had made. Elena's examination room looked more like a mystical library than a medical facility. Ancient texts lined the walls, crystals hung from the ceiling, and the scent of sage and something Sierra couldn't identify filled the air. Sit, Elena commanded. She was easily 70 years old but moved with the grace of someone much younger. Her eyes, silver, not the golden amber of most wolves, studied Sierra with unsettling intensity. Sierra sat on the examination table while Dante stood near the door, maintaining that careful 6-foot distance he'd kept since she woke up. This won't hurt, Elena said, placing her hands on either side of Sierra's neck, near the mark. I'm just reading your energy signature. Every being has one: human, werewolf, witch, vampire. Yours should be purely human, but... Elena's eyes widened. Her hands jerked back like she'd been burned. What? Dante demanded, moving closer. What is it? I must be mistaken, Elena said, but her voice shook. Let me try again. She placed her hands back on Sierra's neck, closing her eyes. This time, Sierra felt something, a warm tingle that spread from Elena's palms into her skin. It felt almost familiar. Like a memory she couldn't quite grasp. Elena's eyes snapped open, and she stepped back. Alpha, I need to speak with you. Privately. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Sierra, Dante said firmly. She deserves to know what's happening to her own body. Very well. Elena's expression was grave. She's not entirely human. There's wolf in her bloodline. Dormant, suppressed, but definitely present. Sierra's world tilted. That's impossible. I'm adopted, but my parents told me my biological parents were both human. They died in a car accident when I was 6 months old. What your parents told you and what's true may not be the same thing, Elena said gently. The wolf in you is buried deep, so deep it would have remained hidden forever under normal circumstances. But the mate mark. The mark awakened it, Dante finished, understanding dawning on his face. That's why she survived. The mate bond recognized the wolf in her and forced it to surface. Precisely. Though I've never seen suppression this complete before. Elena frowned. Typically, wolf children shift for the first time in their teens. Even with suppressants, there would be signs, enhanced strength, healing, heightened senses. But Sierra shows none of the typical markers. It's as if someone went to great lengths to hide her wolf nature completely. Why would anyone do that? Sierra asked, her mind reeling. Protection, perhaps. There are wolves who are hunted. Bloodlines that were targeted for extinction. Elena's silver eyes studied Sierra carefully. I'd need to run more tests to determine your lineage, but... Do them, Dante interrupted. Whatever you need. If Sierra has wolf blood, we need to know what kind and why it was hidden. Over the next 3 days, Elena ran every test in her arsenal. Blood work, energy readings, even consulting ancient texts that made Sierra's eyes cross with their archaic language. Meanwhile, Sierra was introduced to pack life, and pack politics. Vanessa made sure everyone knew Sierra was the mistake. Oh, there she is, Vanessa said loudly as Sierra entered the pack dining hall for breakfast. The human who can't even shift. How charming that our alpha is bound to someone so inadequate. The dozen wolves in the hall turned to stare. Sierra felt the weight of their judgment, their disdain. I can hear you, Sierra said calmly, grabbing a plate. And for the record, I didn't ask to be marked. Your alpha did that all on his own. Because you were in the way, Vanessa hissed, standing. You disrupted a sacred ceremony. Cost me my rightful position as alpha's mate. And now we're stuck with a human who'll probably die in a few months anyway, leaving our alpha broken and mateless. Vanessa. Dante's voice cut through the hall like a whip. He appeared in the doorway, his alpha power making everyone, including Vanessa, drop their eyes in submission. Everyone except Sierra, who met his gaze directly. You will show respect to my mate. Mistake or not, the bond is formed. Sierra is under my protection, and anyone who threatens her, threatens me. Vanessa's jaw clenched, but she lowered her head. Yes, Alpha. As she walked past Sierra toward the exit, she whispered low enough that only Sierra could hear, enjoy your borrowed time, human. You won't last. But here's what Vanessa didn't know, Sierra was already changing. That night, Sierra woke from a nightmare about fire and screaming. Her body was burning up, sweat soaking through the sheets. She stumbled to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face. When she looked in the mirror, her eyes glowed golden for a full 3 seconds before fading back to brown. What the hell? Sierra whispered. A knock on her bedroom door made her jump. Sierra? I felt your distress through the bond. Are you alright? Dante. The mate bond apparently worked both ways. He could sense when she was in pain or afraid. Sierra opened the door, finding him standing there in sleep pants and nothing else. Despite everything, her body reacted to the sight of him, all muscle and power and barely contained strength. "I'm fine," she lied. "Just a nightmare. Your heart is racing. Your temperature is elevated." Dante's eyes scanned her face. "What aren't you telling me?" "My eyes," Sierra admitted. "They glowed. Just for a second, but they definitely glowed gold. Like yours." Dante's expression shifted to something intense. "The wolf is emerging. Elena said it would happen. The mate bond is forcing your dormant nature to surface. But this fast. Is that bad? I don't know. Normally, first shifts happen gradually over weeks. But you're not a normal case." Dante took a step closer, then stopped himself. "Do you feel different? Any urges to shift?" "Any. I feel like my skin is too tight," Sierra said. "Like there's something under my skin trying to get out. And I can smell everything. I can smell that Marcus, your beta, walked past this hallway 20 minutes ago. I can smell what you had for dinner. I can smell Vanessa's perfume from 3 floors down, and it's making me irrationally angry. The enhanced senses are normal. The anger." Dante's lips twitched. "Wolves are territorial. You're responding to her as a threat to your bond." "I don't want to be territorial over you," Sierra protested. "You're not mine. This whole thing was a mistake. I'm just the wrong person who happened to be there. The bond doesn't care about mistakes." Dante finally gave in to the pull between them, closing the distance until they stood inches apart. "It recognizes you as mine and me as yours. Your wolf knows that, even if your human mind doesn't want to accept it." Sierra's breath caught. This close, she could see the gold flecks in his eyes, could feel the heat radiating from his skin, could sense the barely leashed power in every line of his body. "What if I can't shift?" she whispered. "What if the wolf inside me is broken or incomplete? Then we'll figure it out together." Dante's hand lifted, almost touching her face before he stopped himself, again. "I may have marked you by mistake, but I don't abandon my responsibilities. You're my mate now. That means I protect you, even from the consequences of my own actions." "That's very noble," Sierra said dryly. "But I'm not a responsibility to be managed. I'm a person who's been dragged into a supernatural world I don't understand, marked by a man who wishes I was someone else, and now apparently transforming into a werewolf against my will. So forgive me if I'm not super grateful for your protection." Dante's expression flickered with something that might have been hurt. "You think I wish you were Vanessa? Don't you? She's beautiful, powerful, perfectly suited to be an alpha's mate. I'm just an accountant who happened to be jogging in the wrong place at the wrong time." "You're right. You're not Vanessa." Dante's voice went rough. "You're not cruel or calculating. You don't play political games or manipulate pack dynamics for personal gain. You face impossible situations with humor and courage instead of fear. And you're the only person in this entire compound who looks at me like I'm just a man, not an alpha to be obeyed or feared." Sierra's heart was racing again, but this time it had nothing to do with her emerging wolf nature. "That's just because I don't know any better," she managed to say. "Maybe. Or maybe it's because you're exactly who you're supposed to be, and the mistake wasn't marking you, it was planning to mark anyone else." Dante stepped back, creating distance again. "Get some sleep. Elena wants to continue testing in the morning. She thinks she's close to identifying your bloodline." After he left, Sierra lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her body still burning with unspent energy. The wolf inside her was waking up, pushing against the barriers that had kept it hidden for 24 years. And somewhere in the back of her mind, buried under layers of suppressants and fake memories, something whispered, "You're not who they told you. You were never human. You were never safe. And they're coming for you, *. The next morning, Sierra woke to chaos. Alarms blared through the compound. Wolves ran through hallways in various states of panic. Through the bond, she felt Dante's surge of rage and protective fury. Marcus burst into her room without knocking. "Get dressed. Now. We're under attack." Attack? By who? Rogues. A lot of them. More organized than they should be. Marcus tossed her clothes. "Dante wants you in the safe room until this is over. I'm not hiding while. You're not a wolf yet. You can't fight. And if you die, the incomplete bond kills Dante too." Marcus's expression was grim. "So unless you want to take down the Alpha, you'll get to the safe room and stay there." Sierra dressed quickly and let Marcus escort her to a reinforced bunker beneath the compound. A dozen pack members were already there, elderly wolves, children, and a few who were injured from previous conflicts. And Vanessa. Of course they'd put the fragile human in the safe room, Vanessa said, examining her nails. "Can't have Dante's little mistake getting hurt." Sierra ignored her, focusing on the sounds of battle echoing from above. Through the bond, she could feel Dante fighting, his pain when claws raked his side, his rage when rogues broke through the first defensive line. Then she felt something worse: betrayal. Someone in the pack had helped the rogues get through the wards. Someone had given them the security codes to the compound. Someone had orchestrated this entire attack. Sierra's eyes snapped to Vanessa, who was checking her phone with a small smile on her face. "You," Sierra breathed. "You did this." Vanessa's smile widened. "I have no idea what you're talking about. You're working with the rogues. You let them in." Sierra stood, rage burning through her veins. "Why? To kill Dante? To take power?" "To expose his weakness," Vanessa corrected. "Dante's been Alpha for 5 years. Strong, controlled, perfect. But then he marked a human and showed everyone his control isn't as absolute as he pretends. The pack needs to see that. Needs to question whether someone who makes such catastrophic mistakes deserves to lead. So you're willing to let people die just to make a political point?" "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to restore proper order." Vanessa stood, moving toward the safe room door. "Don't worry, Sierra. Dante will survive, probably. And after this disaster, when the pack votes to remove him, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Quickly. Humanely." She opened the safe room door and stepped out. Sierra should have stayed put. Should have let Vanessa go. Should have hidden like everyone expected the weak human to do. Instead, something inside her snapped. The wolf, her wolf, the one that had been dormant for 24 years, surged forward with a force that knocked Sierra to her knees. Her bones began to crack, reshaping. Her skin burned as fur tried to push through. "No, no, no," Sierra gasped. "Not now. I don't know how to." But the wolf didn't care about her inexperience. It cared about the mate bond screaming danger. It cared about Dante fighting for his life above. It cared about punishing the traitor who'd orchestrated this attack. Sierra's first shift was agony. Every bone breaking and reforming, muscles tearing and rebuilding, her very consciousness splitting between human and wolf. She screamed, and the scream became a howl that echoed through the safe room. When the transformation completed, Sierra stood on 4 legs for the first time in her life. She was massive, larger than any she-wolf had a right to be. Her fur was silver white, shimmering in the fluorescent lights. And her eyes, when she caught her reflection in the polished steel walls, glowed not gold like normal wolves. They glowed silver. Through the bond, she felt Dante's shock. Felt him recognize her wolf through their connection. Felt his confusion, how is she silver? No pack has silver wolves. That color died out centuries ago with the asterisk. Sierra didn't wait for him to finish that thought. She burst through the safe room door and ran toward the battle, driven by instinct and the mate bond's desperate need to protect. She found Vanessa in the corridor, talking rapidly on her phone. Yes, the alpha is weakened. Now's your chance to. Sierra's growl cut through Vanessa's words. The blonde wolf spun, eyes widening at the sight of the massive silver wolf. Impossible, Vanessa whispered. You can't be. But she was. And Sierra's wolf had very different ideas about mercy than her human side did. Sierra's silver wolf stood over Vanessa, fangs bared, a growl rumbling from her chest that made the walls vibrate. Through the bond, she felt Dante's approach, felt him running at full speed toward her location. Sierra, don't. Vanessa backed against the wall, her usual confidence shattered. I'm Pack. You can't attack Pack members. Sierra's wolf didn't care about Pack law. It cared about betrayal. About traitors. About the woman who'd orchestrated an attack that was currently getting Pack members killed upstairs. Dante burst around the corner in his massive black wolf form, followed by Marcus and 3 other Pack warriors. They all froze at the sight of Sierra's silver wolf. Marcus shifted back to human form, naked and staring. That's impossible. Silver moon wolves have been extinct for 20 years. There's no way. Elena appeared behind them, breathing hard from running. When she saw Sierra's wolf, her silver eyes went wide. Oh my gods. Oh my gods. It's true. It's actually true. Dante shifted back to human, his eyes never leaving Sierra. Elena, what are you talking about? Her scent. I knew there was something familiar about it, but I couldn't place it until now. Elena moved closer to Sierra's wolf, slowly, reverently. Alpha, she's not just any wolf with dormant blood. She's Silver Moon. The bloodline that was supposed to be completely wiped out in the massacre of 2004. The words hit like a bomb. Sierra shifted back to human, the transformation easier this time, instinctive, and stood there shaking, naked and vulnerable. Marcus quickly handed her his shirt, which she wrapped around herself. I don't understand, Sierra said, her voice hoarse. What massacre? What bloodline? I'm just. You're not just anything. Elena's voice was filled with awe and sorrow. The Silver Moon Pack was the most powerful werewolf bloodline in North America. They could do things other wolves couldn't: pack empathy, alpha command that worked across pack lines, healing that bordered on miraculous. They were royalty among our kind. Dante said quietly. Past tense. 20 years ago, the Silver Moon Pack was betrayed from within and slaughtered by a coalition of rival packs who feared their power. Elena's expression was grave. Every alpha, every beta, every warrior. Even the children. It was meant to be total extinction. But there were rumors, whispers that the alpha's infant daughter survived. That she was smuggled out before the attack. Sierra felt the ground tilt beneath her. No. No, that's not, I'm adopted. My parents said my biological parents died in a car accident. Your adoptive parents lied to protect you, Elena said gently. They must have been the ones who rescued you from the massacre. Hid you, suppressed your wolf nature with powerful magic, gave you a human identity. All to keep you safe from the same people who murdered your real family. How can you be sure? Dante demanded. Silver fur isn't enough proof. No, but this is. Elena pulled out an ancient book, flipping to a page with a detailed drawing. It showed a wolf with silver fur and silver eyes, with intricate marking patterns on its coat. Every silver moon wolf bore the same distinctive markings. A crescent moon shape on the right shoulder. She pointed to Sierra's naked shoulder, where a silver crescent-shaped birthmark was clearly visible. Sierra had always had that birthmark. Had always assumed it was just a skin irregularity. Now she stared at it with new eyes, seeing the perfect crescent shape, the way it seemed to shimmer slightly in the light. No, Sierra whispered. This can't be real. I'm just Sierra Hayes. I'm an accountant. I live in a studio apartment in Seattle. I have student loans and a gym membership and a Netflix subscription. I'm not werewolf royalty from an extinct bloodline. You're both, Dante said softly. You were Sierra Hayes, the human accountant. But you were born Serafina Silvermoon, daughter of the Silver Moon Alpha and heir to the most powerful pack in our history. Serafina, Sierra repeated, and something deep inside her recognized the name. Responded to it. Like coming home after being lost for 2 decades. The massacre happened when you were 6 months old, Elena continued. Your parents knew the attack was coming. They had someone, probably your adoptive parents, take you away. Used blood magic to suppress your wolf, bound your nature so deeply that even you wouldn't know what you were. It was the only way to keep you hidden from those who wanted the Silver Moon line completely destroyed. But the mark bond broke the suppression, Marcus said, understanding dawning. When Dante marked her, the mate bond recognized her wolf nature and forced it to surface. That's why she survived what would have killed a human. Exactly. Elena looked at Dante with an expression Sierra couldn't quite read. Alpha, do you understand what this means? The mark wasn't a mistake. It was fate. Destiny. The mate bond sought out the one wolf whose nature was so deeply hidden that no one, not even she herself, knew what she was. It awakened her precisely because she needed to be awakened. Dante stared at Sierra with something like shock and wonder mixed together. You're not the wrong woman. You were always the right one. I just didn't know it. Wait, Vanessa interrupted, her voice sharp with panic. You're saying this human, this mistake, is actually Silver Moon royalty? That she has more claim to power than any of us? She has more claim to power than anyone alive, Elena corrected. As the last living Silver Moon, as the Alpha's daughter, Sierra, Serafina, is technically the highest-ranking wolf in North America. If she wanted to, she could challenge any Alpha and have legitimate claim to their territory. I don't want anyone's territory. Sierra protested. I don't want to be royalty or an heir or whatever you think I am. I just want. She stopped because she didn't know what she wanted anymore. Her entire identity had just been ripped apart and rebuilt into something unrecognizable. There's more, Elena said quietly. There's a prophecy. When Silver Moon returns, the packs will unite or fall. Your bloodline wasn't just powerful, it was meant to bring the werewolf world together. To end the territorial conflicts and pack wars that have plagued our kind for centuries. That's why you were targeted for extinction, Dante said, pieces clicking into place. The rival packs didn't want unity. They wanted power, territory, autonomy. So they destroyed the one bloodline that could force them to cooperate. And now that bloodline has returned. Elena's smile was sad. Which means every pack that participated in the massacre, every Alpha who benefited from the Silver Moon's destruction, will want Sierra dead before she can fulfill the prophecy. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sierra's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees, Marcus's shirt the only thing keeping her decent, her mind unable to process the magnitude of what she'd just learned. Hey! Dante was there immediately, kneeling beside her, his hands on her shoulders. Breathe. Just breathe. They killed my real parents, Sierra gasped. Killed my entire family. And now they'll come for me. Everyone I've ever been is a lie, and the truth is that I'm some kind of werewolf princess whose very existence threatens the political structure of the entire supernatural world. Yes, Dante said simply. And I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. You can't stop entire packs. You're powerful, but you're just one Alpha. Then we'll build alliances. Find the packs who would support unity over conflict. Dante's jaw set with determination. Elena, how many packs do you think would side with us if they knew Sierra was alive? Honestly? About half. Maybe less. Elena's expression was grim. The Silver Moon legacy is complicated. Some packs revered them. Others feared them. And many benefited from their extinction, territory, resources, political power they never would have had otherwise. So I'm a target, Sierra said flatly. You've always been a target, Elena corrected. You just didn't know it. The suppression kept you hidden, but now that your wolf has emerged, your scent will mark you as Silver Moon to any wolf who gets close enough. It's only a matter of time before word spreads. How long? Dante asked. Days. Maybe a week if we're lucky. Elena looked at Vanessa, who'd been unnaturally quiet during this entire revelation. Though something tells me word might spread faster than that. All eyes turned to Vanessa. You were working with rogues, Marcus said slowly. Rogues who just happened to attack right as Sierra's wolf emerged. That's not a coincidence, is it? Vanessa's expression twisted into something ugly. You want to know the truth? Fine. Yes, I orchestrated the attack. Yes, I'm working with outside forces. Because Dante marking a random human was the perfect excuse to expose his weakness, to question his judgment, to potentially remove him from power. But I didn't know she was Silver Moon, Vanessa continued, her voice rising. I thought she was just some pathetic human who'd die in a few weeks anyway. If I'd known, if any of us had known, she would have been killed immediately. Do you understand what her existence means? It means the old alliances are threatened. The power structures we've built over 20 years are at risk. The Pax won't tolerate this. Then the Pax can deal with me, Dante growled, his alpha power flooding the corridor. Because Sierra is my mate. My responsibility. And I will burn down anyone who tries to harm her. You'll start a war, Vanessa spat. Then we'll fight a war. Dante pulled Sierra to her feet, keeping her close. But first, we're dealing with the traitor who just admitted to orchestrating an attack on Pac territory and working with our enemies. You can't kill me, Vanessa said quickly. I'm the Beta's daughter. Pac law requires a trial, and Pac law also says traitors forfeit all protections. Marcus's voice was ice. You betrayed us to rogues. Got Pac members killed. That's a death sentence, Vanessa. No trial needed. Vanessa's eyes widened with genuine fear. Dante, please. We were supposed to be mates. You can't just. We were never going to be mates, Dante said flatly. That arrangement was political convenience, nothing more. And the moment you put my pack at risk for your own ambition, you forfeited any claim to mercy. He looked at Marcus. Take her to the cells. We'll decide her fate after we've dealt with the immediate threat upstairs. As Marcus and the other wolves dragged a screaming Vanessa away, Elena touched Sierra's arm gently. I know this is overwhelming, the historian said. Finding out your entire life was a carefully constructed lie to keep you alive. Learning that you're the last of a legendary bloodline. Realizing that your very existence will trigger political upheaval across the werewolf world. But Sierra, Serafina, you need to understand something. What? The mate bond didn't choose you randomly. Fate doesn't make mistakes. Elena's silver eyes held Sierra's. Dante marking you, awakening your wolf, bringing you into this world at this exact moment, it's all part of the prophecy. You were meant to be found. Meant to be awakened. Meant to stand beside an alpha strong enough to protect you while you figure out who you really are. Sierra looked at Dante, who stood there covered in blood from the battle upstairs, his eyes still glowing with alpha power, his entire body radiating protective fury. You really believe I'm who she says I am? Sierra asked him. That I'm this legendary heir instead of just an accountant who got caught up in something crazy? I believe your wolf is silver, Dante said. I believe you shifted for the first time in the middle of a battle to protect the mate bond. I believe you're stronger than any newly awakened wolf has a right to be. And I believe. He stepped closer. I believe that marking you wasn't a mistake. It was the best thing I've ever done, even if I didn't understand why at the time. Through the bond, Sierra felt his absolute certainty. Felt how he'd gone from guilt and horror to protective devotion in the span of days. Felt how the mate bond had shifted from unwanted obligation to something he actively cherished. "Okay," Sierra said quietly. "Then I guess I'm Seraphina Silvermoon. Last of my bloodline. Heir to a murdered pack. And apparently the mate of an alpha who marked me by accident but is stuck with me by fate." "Not stuck," Dante corrected. "Chosen. By fate, by destiny, by whatever force decides these things. You were always meant to be mine, Sierra. I just had to mark the wrong woman to find the right one." Despite everything, the revelations, the danger, the complete upheaval of her entire existence, Sierra smiled. "That's the worst pickup line I've ever heard." "Then it's good we're already mated," Dante said, and for the first time since this whole mess started, he smiled too. But their moment was shattered by a howl from upstairs, a victory howl that meant the rogues had been driven off. For now. Because Vanessa was right about one thing, Sierra's emergence as the last silver moon would trigger a war. Packs who'd benefited from the massacre would want her dead. Packs who'd opposed the silver moons would see her as a threat. And packs who'd loved the silver moons would demand she take her rightful place as their leader. The quiet life of Sierra Hayes, accountant, was over. The dangerous life of Seraphina Silvermoon, heir to a legendary bloodline, had just begun. And the mate bond that had seemed like a catastrophic mistake? It was the only thing keeping her alive. Silver moons could unite all packs, why they were killed. The attack was repelled, but the damage was done. 5 pack members were injured, 2 seriously. And word of Sierra's true identity was already spreading through supernatural channels faster than wildfire. 3 packs have requested emergency meetings, Marcus reported 2 days after the battle. 2 are demanding we hand over the Silver Moon imposter for trial. 1 wants to negotiate an alliance. Which pack wants the alliance? Dante asked, sitting in his office with Sierra beside him. She'd barely left his side since the revelation, the mate bond demanding proximity while her world restructured itself. Riverside Pack. Their alpha, Catherine Moore, was a child when the massacre happened. Apparently her parents were allies of the Silver Moons, tried to stop the attack but were outnumbered. And the 2 demanding her trial? Marcus's expression darkened. Ironwood and Shadowcrest. Both packs gained significant territory after the Silver Moon pack was destroyed. Both have alphas who participated in the original massacre. Sierra felt cold. They want me dead because I'm proof of what they did 20 years ago. They want you dead because you represent a threat to 20 years of stolen power, Dante corrected. If the prophecy is true, if your bloodline can unite the packs, it means territorial disputes would be settled by council instead of combat. Resources would be shared instead of hoarded. Alpha authority would be checked by collective governance. Basically, I'm a threat to every alpha who likes having unchecked power, Sierra said. Exactly. Elena entered the office carrying a stack of ancient texts. Which is why we need to move quickly. I've been researching the Silver Moon abilities, and Sierra, if you can awaken your full heritage, you'll be far more powerful than any alpha currently alive. Define, awaken my full heritage, Sierra said warily. Silver Moons had 3 primary gifts. Elena opened one of the books to a marked page. First, pack empathy. You could feel the emotions and needs of any wolf within range, regardless of pack affiliation. It made you natural mediators and leaders. I can already feel Dante's emotions through the mate bond, Sierra said. That's different. The mate bond is personal, intimate. Pack empathy works on hundreds of wolves simultaneously. It's how the Silver Moons could prevent conflicts before they started, they felt the tension building and addressed it. Elena flipped to another page. Second, alpha command that transcends pack lines. Normal alphas can only command their own pack members. Silver Moon alphas could command any wolf, anywhere, if the need was great enough. That sounds terrifying, Sierra said. It was. And it's why so many packs feared you. Elena's expression was grave. The last ability is the most dangerous, bloodline recognition. You can sense who participated in the massacre by their bloodline guilt. It's a genetic memory passed down through families who committed crimes against your pack. Sierra's eyes widened. You mean I can identify the descendants of the wolves who murdered my family? Yes. And that's why you're such a threat. Alphas whose parents or grandparents participated in the massacre know that if you awaken this ability, their families will be marked. Exposed. Subject to the same pack justice they escaped 20 years ago. How many packs are we talking about? Dante asked quietly. At least 15. Maybe 20. Elena's voice was heavy. The Silver Moon massacre wasn't a few rogues attacking. It was a coordinated assault by multiple packs who wanted to eliminate the threat to their autonomy. They struck at night, when the Silver Moons were celebrating a full moon ceremony. Killed everyone they could find. Except one 6-month-old baby, Sierra whispered. Except you. And whoever saved you paid dearly for it. Elena pulled out a faded photograph. This is the last known image of your parents. Alpha Marcus Silver Moon and his mate, Luna Adriana. Sierra stared at the photo with shaking hands. The woman in the image had silver blonde hair and eyes that matched Sierra's exactly. The man beside her was tall, powerful, with the same crescent birthmark visible on his shoulder where his shirt had slipped. They look like me, Sierra breathed. You look like them, Elena corrected gently. Your mother's face. Your father's height and strength. The birthmark passes down the direct alpha line. Through the bond, Dante felt Sierra's grief and rage mixing together. He pulled her close, letting her absorb his strength. Who saved me? Sierra asked. Who were my adoptive parents really? I don't know. They hid their tracks well. Elena closed the book. But I suspect they were Silver Moon Pack members who escaped the initial attack. They would have known about the prophecy, known you were meant to survive. They gave up everything, their wolf nature, their pack connections, their entire lives, to keep you safe. Are they still alive? If they are, they're deeply hidden. I've sent out careful inquiries through trusted sources, but... Elena shook her head. Most of the Silver Moon Pack died that night. The few who escaped were hunted down in the following months. Your saviors either died protecting your secret, or they're so deep undercover that even I can't find them. Sierra felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. She'd already cried for the parents she'd thought died in a car accident. Now she had to grieve for her real parents, murdered for trying to unite their people. And for the unknown heroes who'd sacrificed everything to save one baby. So what do we do? She asked, forcing her voice steady. Wait for the hostile packs to attack. Run? Hide? We build alliances, Dante said firmly. Starting with Riverside Pack. If Catherine Moore's family tried to stop the massacre, she might be willing to stand with us against the packs who participated. 1 pack against 15. Marcus looked skeptical. 1 pack to start. Then we find others. Dante's alpha power radiated through the room. There have to be packs who are tired of the constant territorial conflicts. Packs who lost members to the endless border disputes and power struggles. Packs who would benefit from the unity the Silver Moons represented. Or we could fight, Sierra said quietly. If I can awaken these abilities Elena talked about, if I'm as powerful as you say, maybe I don't need alliances. Maybe I just need to be strong enough that the hostile packs don't dare attack. That's the alpha blood talking, Elena said with a slight smile. Your father had the same instinct, face threats head-on with overwhelming force. It's what made him a great warrior. It's also what got him killed when he was outnumbered 20-1. Sierra flinched at the reminder. We need both, Dante said. Alliances for political strength, and we need to awaken Sierra's full abilities for personal power. She's right that being visibly powerful will make potential enemies think twice. Then we start training, Elena said. The abilities are in your blood, Sierra. You just need to learn how to access them. Over the next week, Sierra trained harder than she'd ever trained for anything in her human life. Elena taught her meditation techniques to sense other wolves' emotions. Dante sparred with her in wolf form, teaching her combat that was instinctive to born wolves but foreign to someone who'd only shifted twice. And every night, Sierra dreamed of fire and screaming. Of her mother's last moments, fighting to protect an infant daughter. Of her father's roar of defiance as enemies overwhelmed him. Of the unknown person who'd grabbed a baby and run into the darkness, choosing to save one life instead of fighting a battle already lost. The dreams are genetic memory, Elena explained when Sierra mentioned them. Your wolf carries the trauma of the massacre even though you weren't conscious enough to remember it. As you awaken, those memories surface. Great. So I get to relive my family's murder over and over, Sierra said bitterly. You get to understand what they died for, Elena corrected. And why the prophecy matters. Your parents believed in unity so strongly they were willing to die for it. The question is, are you? Sierra didn't have an answer to that. But she got one 3 days later when Catherine Moore, Alpha of Riverside Pack, arrived for the Alliance meeting. Catherine was in her mid-40s, with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that held decades of hard-earned wisdom. She entered Dante's territory with a small honor guard and immediately requested a private meeting with Sierra. Your mother saved my life, Catherine said without preamble, once they were alone in a secure room. I was 6 years old when the massacre happened. My parents brought our pack to try to stop it, but we were too late. The attack was already underway. Your mother was dying, 3 alphas had torn into her trying to get to you. But she saw me, this terrified child surrounded by violence, and she used her last strength to push me toward my parents. Told them to get me out. To save at least one child that night. Sierra felt tears finally break free. She saved you instead of herself. She was already dead. She just didn't know it yet. Catherine's voice was rough with emotion. Your mother was the strongest wolf I've ever encountered. Not physically, though she was formidable, but in spirit. She believed in something bigger than pack loyalty or territorial power. She believed in all of us becoming better than we were. And people killed her for it. People feared her for it. Fear makes us do terrible things. Catherine pulled out a small silver pendant, a crescent moon. This was your mother's. My parents found it in the aftermath and kept it. They always said if any silver moon survived, it should be returned to them. I think they'd want you to have it. Sierra took the pendant with shaking hands. It was warm, almost alive with residual magic. When she put it on, she felt something click into place, like a lock opening, or a door swinging wide. And suddenly, she could feel everyone. Every wolf in the compound. Their emotions, their intentions, their loyalties. It hit her like a tidal wave, Marcus's unwavering loyalty to Dante, Catherine's grief and determination, the remaining pack members' mix of fear and hope, and... There's a traitor, Sierra gasped. In your honor guard. One of the wolves you brought isn't loyal to you. There. The window exploded inward. A massive gray wolf burst through, heading straight for Sierra with killing intent. Catherine shifted instantly, intercepting the attack. The 2 wolves crashed together in a snarl of fangs and fury. Alarms blared through the compound. Sierra's wolf surged forward, demanding she shift and fight. But this time, she didn't just shift. She commanded. Stop. Her voice resonated with alpha power that transcended pack lines, the second silver moon ability awakening. Every wolf in the building froze. Not just Dante's pack. Not just Catherine's wolves. Every single wolf, regardless of affiliation, locked in place as Sierra's command overrode their individual wills. The gray wolf that had attacked stood paralyzed, its eyes wide with shock and fear. Sierra shifted to her wolf form and approached the attacker. Now that her pack empathy was fully awakened, she could read this wolf like a book. Could sense the external compulsion driving them. Could feel the bloodline guilt marking them as descended from massacre participants. Your Ironwood pack, Sierra said, shifting back to human. Her voice was calm but carried absolute authority. Your grandfather led the attack on the Silver Moon Nursery. Killed 12 children under the age of 5. And now you're here on orders to kill me before I can expose your family's crimes. The Grey Wolf whimpered, unable to deny the accusation. But you don't want to do this, Sierra continued, feeling the wolf's internal conflict through her empathy. You were sent here by your alpha, compelled by pack loyalty, but you're horrified by what your grandfather did. You've been carrying that shame your whole life. She released her command, giving the wolf back its free will. So here's your choice: run back to Ironwood Pack and tell your alpha that the Silver Moon heir is awake, aware, and more powerful than they feared. Or stay here, renounce your pack's crimes, and join us in building something better. The Grey Wolf stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, it lowered its head in submission, not to Dante's authority, but to Sierra's. Catherine laughed in amazement. You just turned an assassin into an ally using nothing but empathy and truth. Your mother would be so proud. But their relief was short-lived. Marcus burst into the room, his face pale. We have a problem. A big one. He pulled up his phone, showing a video that had been posted to Supernatural's social media 30 minutes ago. It showed Vanessa in her cell, speaking directly to the camera. To all packs who value freedom over forced unity, who remember the Silver Moon threat, who participated in the righteous cleansing 20 years ago, the heir survived. She's here, in Blackwood territory, and she's awakening her powers. If we don't act now, she'll unite the packs under her tyranny just like her parents tried to do. Rally to me. I'll give you the information you need to end this threat permanently. For our freedom. For our autonomy. For. The video cut off, but the damage was done. She sent that before we locked down her communications, Marcus said grimly. It's been shared across 40 packs already. Maybe more. So now every pack that participated in the massacre knows exactly where I am, Sierra said quietly. And they're coming, Dante confirmed, his jaw tight. I'm getting challenge notifications from multiple alphas. They're calling it a formal territorial dispute, but we all know what it really is. A coordinated attack, Catherine said. Just like last time. They'll hit you with overwhelming force, kill Sierra, and claim it was legal pack justice. How many? Sierra asked. 15 packs have formally joined the challenge. Maybe more will add their forces once they arrive. Dante's hand found Sierra's, gripping tight. We have allies, Catherine's pack, and a few others who've pledged support. But we're outnumbered 3-1. Then we even the odds, Sierra said, feeling her Silver Moon power thrumming through her veins. I'm not hiding. I'm not running. And I'm not letting history repeat itself. If they want war, we'll give them war. But this time, the Silver Moon heir fights back. Through the mate bond, Dante felt her absolute conviction. Felt the alpha power awakening in her, the royal blood demanding she protect her people and claim her birthright. Together, he said firmly. We fight together. Together, Sierra agreed. But as they prepared for the battle that would determine the future of werewolf society, as allies rallied and enemies gathered, Sierra touched her mother's pendant and made a silent vow. This time, the Silver Moon wouldn't fall. This time, they'd rise. The 15 hostile packs arrived at dawn, surrounding Blackwood territory in a coordinated assault that mirrored the massacre 20 years ago. But this time, the Silver Moon heir wasn't a helpless infant. This time, she was ready. Sierra stood on the compound's main balcony in her wolf form, her silver fur gleaming in the rising sun. Below, Dante's pack assembled alongside Catherine's riverside wolves and the handful of other allies who'd answered the call. Maybe 200 wolves total. Facing them were over 600 enemy wolves, led by 15 alphas who'd come to finish what their parents had started. Last chance to surrender the Silver Moon pretender. Alpha Marcus Ironwood's voice boomed across the battlefield. Hand her over for pack justice, and the rest of you can walk away unharmed. Dante shifted to human form, his alpha power radiating. The only pretenders here are the cowards who murdered children in the night and called it justice. Sierra Silver Moon is my mate, she stands under my protection, and anyone who wants her will have to go through me. Then you all die, Ironwood snarled. Attack! 600 wolves charged forward as one massive wave of teeth and claws and murderous intent. Sierra's pack empathy felt every one of them, their rage, their fear, their guilt buried under decades of lies. Many of these wolves didn't even know why they were fighting, just following alpha orders passed down through bloodlines stained with massacre. She could end this with violence. Could let them crash into her allies and turn this battlefield into a bloodbath. Could fight with all the Silver Moon power awakening in her veins and maybe survive long enough to see who won. Or she could do what her mother would have done. Sierra shifted to human form and stepped forward to the edge of the balcony. No armor, no weapons, nothing but her mother's pendant and the 3 Silver Moon abilities flowing through her blood. Stop! Her alpha command crashed over the battlefield like a tidal wave. Every wolf froze mid-charge. 600 werewolves locked in place by the transcendent authority of a bloodline that had been created to lead them all. I am Seraphina Silver Moon, Sierra's voice carried across the frozen battlefield. Daughter of Alpha Marcus and Luna Adriana. Last survivor of the massacre you thought erased my family. And I'm giving you all one chance to choose something better than repeating history. She released just enough of the command that they could speak, but not attack. We don't want your unity, one alpha shouted. We don't want Silver Moon tyranny. Then you clearly don't understand what my parents stood for. Sierra's pack empathy reached out, touching not just the wolves in front of her, but their memories, their ancestral guilt, their buried knowledge of what really happened 20 years ago. And she showed them. Using her bloodline recognition ability combined with pack empathy, Sierra pulled forward the genetic memories buried in every wolf descended from massacre participants. Made them see what their parents and grandparents had done, not the sanitized version they'd been told, but the truth. The nursery attack. 12 children under 5, slaughtered while they slept. Her mother, fighting 3 alphas while protecting Catherine, using her last breath to save one child instead of cursing her killers. Her father, brought down by 20 wolves at once, his final roar a defiant promise that the Silver Moon bloodline would return. The healers who'd surrendered, begging for mercy, killed anyway because they'd served the Silver Moons. The elders who'd tried to negotiate, murdered mid-sentence. The attempted genocide of an entire bloodline, not because they were tyrants, but because they dared to suggest that werewolves could be more than violent territorial animals. Sierra felt the collective horror ripple through the 600 wolves. Felt the ones who'd known the truth struggle with shame. Felt the ones who'd been lied to recoil from the reality of what their families had done. That's what you're here to finish, Sierra said quietly. That's what you're here to defend. Not freedom. Not autonomy. Mass murder dressed up as necessary action. They would have controlled us. Ironwood protested, but his voice wavered. The Silver Moons could command any wolf, anywhere. That's slavery. My mother used her alpha command exactly 3 times in her entire life, Sierra said, and through her bloodline recognition, she knew this was truth. Once to stop a pack war that would have killed hundreds. Once to save a drowning child whose own parents were too far away. And once to push a terrified 6-year-old girl toward safety while she died. That's not tyranny. That's service. She walked down the steps from the balcony, through her own lines, and stood in the no-man's land between the armies. Completely vulnerable. Completely exposed. Completely trusting in something more powerful than teeth and claws. The prophecy says, when Silver Moon returns, the packs will unite or fall. You all assumed that meant I'd force you to unite. But that's not how it works. Sierra touched her mother's pendant. Unity can't be forced. It has to be chosen. So I'm offering you all a choice right now. She released her alpha command completely, giving every wolf their free will back. You can choose to fight me. Some of you might even win. I'm powerful, but I'm also newly awakened and outnumbered. Kill me, and you can go back to your territorial disputes, your endless conflicts, your cycle of violence that's been bleeding our kind for centuries. Sierra met the eyes of every alpha she could see. Or you can choose something better. Choose to honor what my parents died trying to build. Choose to be wolves who settle disputes with words before claws. Choose to share resources instead of hoarding them. Choose to judge each other by actions instead of bloodlines. She smiled sadly. Choose to prove that my mother was right to believe in us. That we're capable of being more than monsters in the dark. Silence stretched across the battlefield. Then Alpha Catherine Moore shifted to human and walked forward to stand beside Sierra. Riverside Pack chooses unity. Chooses the Silver Moon vision. Chooses to be better. One of the enemy wolves, the gray wolf Sierra had converted earlier, shifted and joined them. I am Ashton Ironwood, grandson of a massacre participant, and I choose to break the cycle. I choose unity. Another wolf shifted. Then another. Then 10, 20, 50, wolves from the hostile packs breaking ranks and walking forward to stand with Sierra. Stop. Ironwood commanded his remaining wolves. Stay in formation. This is a trick. She's manipulating you. I'm not manipulating anyone, Sierra said calmly. I released my alpha command. Every wolf here has complete free will. They're choosing this themselves. Then they're choosing treason. Ironwood roared and charged directly at Sierra in his wolf form. Dante intercepted him mid-leap, the two alphas crashing together in an explosion of snarls and violence. Catherine shifted and joined the fight, protecting Sierra's flank. The battlefield erupted as wolves chose sides, some fighting to kill the Silver Moon heir, others fighting to protect her. But Sierra didn't fight. Instead, she used her pack empathy to its fullest extent, reaching out to every wolf on the battlefield. Feeling their pain, their fear, their ancestral guilt and present confusion. And instead of using that knowledge to manipulate them, she simply let them feel each other. Let the Ironwood wolves feel how their alpha's grandchildren had carried shame for decades. Let the Shadowcrest pack feel how their youngest members were tired of defending borders that meant nothing. Let every wolf feel the collective exhaustion of endless conflict. And let them all feel Sierra's grief for parents she'd never known, mixed with her absolute conviction that their deaths had to mean something. One by one, wolves stopped fighting. Not because Sierra commanded them to. Because they chose to. Even in the midst of combat, fighting stopped as wolves on both sides looked at each other and saw not enemies, but people. Saw the same exhaustion, the same longing for something better, the same desperate hope that maybe this cycle could actually end. Ironwood, bleeding from a dozen wounds, found himself facing Dante with no pack support left. His own wolves had laid down their aggression, choosing Sierra's vision over his violence. You've lost, Dante said quietly. Your pack chose differently. Surrender, Marcus. It's over. Never, Ironwood snarled and lunged. Sierra's alpha command caught him mid-leap. Enough. Ironwood froze, suspended by her will. I could kill you right now, Sierra said, walking forward. For what your family did to mine. For the children you murdered. For trying to finish the genocide your grandfather started. I have that right by every pack law ever written. She looked into his eyes, and through her bloodline recognition, she felt the guilt he'd buried for 40 years. The nightmares he'd had since childhood about his grandfather's crimes. The way he'd become a tyrant alpha because he feared that showing any weakness would expose his family's shame. But I'm not going to kill you, Sierra said. Because that would make me exactly what you feared the Silver Moons would be, wolves who used power to eliminate anyone who opposed them. So here's your choice, Marcus Ironwood: accept the unity my mother died for, submit to Pack Council governance, and work to repair the damage your family's crimes caused. Or leave werewolf society entirely, go rogue, and spend the rest of your life knowing you chose violence over peace. She released her command, giving him back his will. Ironwood stood there, human now, bleeding and defeated. Every wolf on the battlefield watched him, waiting to see what he'd choose. "I submit," he said finally, his voice broken. "To the silver moon heir. To the unity vision. To trying to be better than my grandfather was." He dropped to one knee, the ultimate show of submission from an alpha to a higher authority. And one by one, the other hostile alphas followed suit. Some willingly, relieved to have an excuse to end the cycle. Some reluctantly, recognizing that their packs had already chosen. But all of them kneeling before the last silver moon. Sierra felt the moment through her pack empathy, the collective decision of hundreds of wolves to try something different. To choose unity over conflict. To honor the vision her parents had died for. "Rise," she said to the kneeling alphas. "I'm not here to rule you. I'm here to help you rule yourselves better. My parents never wanted a monarchy. They wanted a council. Democracy among packs. Cooperation instead of conquest." She looked around at the assembled wolves, allies and former enemies now mingled together, all of them choosing to be part of something bigger than territorial disputes. "So here's what happens next, we form the pack council. Every alpha gets a vote. Disputes are settled by mediation before they're settled by combat. Resources are shared based on need, not hoarded based on strength. And the silver moon bloodline." She touched her mother's pendant. "We serve as tiebreakers when the council deadlocks, and as voices for wolves who don't have alphas to speak for them. Not rulers. Servants." "What about wolves who refuse?" one alpha asked. "Who won't accept unity? Then they're free to leave and go rogue. But they give up pack protection, pack resources, pack support." Sierra's expression was firm. "The choice is theirs. Just like this was your choice. I can't force unity, and I won't try. All I can do is offer something better and hope enough of you choose it." Through the bond, she felt Dante's overwhelming pride and love. Felt him recognize that this moment, this victory without violence, this choice without coercion, was everything his mate was meant to be. Catherine Moore stepped forward. "I propose we formalize the pack council immediately. All in favor?" Every alpha present raised their hand or paw. Even Ironwood, shame-faced but trying. "Then it's done," Catherine said. "The silver moon bloodline has returned. The prophecy is fulfilled. And we chose unity." The assembled wolves howled their agreement, hundreds of voices lifted in harmony instead of conflict, celebration instead of battle cries. Sierra shifted to her wolf form and howled with them, her silver fur gleaming in the morning sun. The mark that Dante had given her, the mistake that had awakened her, revealed her identity, and changed everything, pulsed with warmth on her neck. Dante shifted and joined her, his black wolf pressing against her silver one, the mate bond singing between them with absolute rightness. "Through their connection," he said, "I marked the wrong woman and found my destiny." "You marked exactly who you were meant to mark," Sierra replied. Asterisk fate doesn't make mistakes. Even when it looks like one, asterisk. As the new pack council began forming, as former enemies became allies, as Sierra's adoptive parents emerged from hiding to see the daughter they'd saved now leading the change they'd hoped for, one thing became clear. The Alpha's mark had never been a mistake. It had been the first step in fulfilling a prophecy 20 years in the making. Sierra Hayes, the human accountant, was gone forever. In her place stood Serafina Silvermoon, mate, heir, and the wolf who'd proven that the strongest power wasn't domination. It was choice. And when given the choice, wolves chose unity over violence, hope over fear, and a future over a past stained with blood. The Silver Moon bloodline had returned. And this time, it was here to stay. Like if this ending was everything. Subscribe for more epic werewolf romance, and comment if you're crying happy tears, because the mistake was actually fate. Sierra united the packs through choice not force, and proved that her parents' vision was worth every sacrifice.